I went to my friend's house recently and helped him set up his display, his X-Men in particular, since he got a bunch of new Mafex figures like the Jean Grey, and he got Storm as well, and Cyclops, and it was really a ton of fun to do this. You know, I also got some experience with the bootleg Deadpool, and I love his Fallen Sentinels. It was really fun helping him set this up and tweaking it a little bit to get it to an elevated place. And it really did convince me that I'm gonna need to do Mafex X-Men. But we also worked on his Avengers display a little bit, and throughout this you'll see some old custom figures that I made. Old, I mean old, like these aren't current displays of my work, but like that Iron Fist, I made that Doctor Strange for him, and one of my first custom Moon Knights, and he just kind of threw on a little cape there. But anyway, he has a really cool setup, and I really wanted to show it on my channel, also to just kind of get him out there as well, because I know he wants to start making content, whether it's figures, comic books, or just Spider-Man stuff. But here it is with the lights, and he has a really cool setup where he puts these LEDs on the front of his shelf, how I kind of used to have it. And so he has red for the Marvel and then blue for DC, which you'll see in a second. But anyway, I'm just gonna let the clip play here while you show off the finished displays with the lights on. I threw in this next clip here just because I really liked how the colors looked and how everything looked really vibrant. I kind of like it more than the red light because it really just accents the vibrant, bright colors that the figures already have. So I'm gonna let this play on. I thought this was really cool how the light perfectly shines on Cyclops. It looks like he's actually glowing when this light setup is on. So it's just really, really cool and adds a new dimension to this display. Want to stay up to date on what he's doing with his collection, follow him at WebFigures on Instagram. I think he's going to end up trying to make a YouTube channel soon. I don't really know, but that's where he's at. So make sure you go and support him. This next clip doesn't really have anything to do with the video either. I was just posing the Doctor Strange with the Doom, and I actually put the Mezco Doctor Strange head on the Marvel Legends, and I think that's how I'm going to keep it from now on. I threw on the meditating head on this figure because I had the astral form that went on the Mezco, and I think this looked really, really sick. So another cool display option for this figure. And then I wanted to highlight my custom because I pulled this out again and actually had a ton of fun posing it, and we're using some of the Mezco accessories, but I thought this looked cool. And then lastly, I made a new Avengers Doctor Strange when he temporarily didn't have the role as Sorcerer Supreme. The main part of this video will be me setting up different displays and setups using the Mezco Fantastic Four to really figure out, is the Mezco Fantastic Four worth it? Let's find out. So to begin, I'm going to be creating a little bit more of an in-depth look at the Marvel Legends and the Mezco Reed Richards. With this is because Reed Richards is kind of the highlight of the set, in my opinion. He comes with a ton of accessories, a ton of display options through the different interchangeable parts with the boots, the neck, the hands, the upper body. You can really have just a number of different ways to have Reed Richards. And then comparing that to the Marvel Legends Reed Richards kind of really puts things into perspective as to whether or not you're willing to pay that $100 price point to get this many display options. And I actually really do like how this Marvel Legends looks in this pose. Like it looks like it's getting the job done, and I actually like this pose. So I'm a little bummed that the Mezco can't actually hit this one. But regardless, I think that one simple pose versus almost an infinite amount of different options kind of does point a clear winner. But I mean, it really does come down to preference and how much you like these characters and how much you want to be able to have that creative freedom with a Mr. Fantastic figure. Now, when looking at the Human Torch, I've seen a lot of people upset that you don't have a full flame-on look for design for the character. And honestly, I do understand that because I personally do like that. But if you're going to have a suit body where he's not completely powered up all the time, I think then you might, this design works. But also with the amount of flame accessories that you have, he definitely looks like he's catching on fire and it's erupting. And so you get this like mid transition really capturing the flame on kind of vibe for him. And I think you can really deck him out and not really have to worry about him not being in that flame on look. But I also want to mention that the Marvel Legends, you can get both the retro or the Walgreens flamed on Human Torch and it'll look great with the set. Now, the Thing actually gave me a bit more to think about when comparing it to the Marvel Legends. One thing you'll immediately notice, the size difference. The Mezco Thing is smaller than the Marvel Legends Thing, and so if you're used to having this bigger, larger thing that towers over some of your other figures, you'll notice that this new one doesn't necessarily do that. And so if that's an appearance issue for you or a scaling issue, none of them are wrong, because I know Jack Kirby actually drew the Thing to be smaller. Here he is actually compared to the Human Torch, and they're almost the same size, but this one obviously is bigger than the Mezco. So if that's a design choice or design preference that you have, that might cause you to not stick with the Mezco Thing in your display, something I'm still considering. I wanted to kind of go over this figure is probably the biggest disappointment of the group, where it just really comes down to the articulation. I do think it's just disappointing for this figure to be very limited in its articulation at this point in the game. The head's really fine, but my issue comes with the single jointed elbows and knees, and she can't turn like very much at all. So like you see, this turn is not very good, and I'm not going to push it too far because I don't want to break it. And I'm not necessarily the most gentle. I do push a little bit to give it some resistance, so take that into account. It's awesome. We have her diaphragm and ball joint is very good, so that's nice. The hips kind of go out that much, so you do get some of that range. Legs kick out, but she's a little stiff in some regard. So the poses that you want to go for with her are going to be utilizing decent head range, hip range, and the ball joint, right? So that doesn't look bad, right? So that's one thing I will say, and she's pretty compatible with the other Marvel Legends head, so you can swap out parts and such like that. So if you really need Invisible Woman in a pose, you can always just swap out for the invisible one, which I'll show. But yeah, but she does come with a lot of cool accessories, so, and I don't really know how intense you need Susan Storm to be posed up. So those are just my quick thoughts on why this figure is probably the weakest of the group, but you still get really cool accessories, so you can't complain that much about it. Quickly jump into just look at Johnny Storm real quick and talk about what makes this figure actually surprisingly strong in this set. But before we do that, I wanted just to show a quick comparison, because I don't really do it later in the video, of his size next to what I would consider the definitive 6-inch Spider-Man for your collection. So to see that, this figure does appear to be a little on the larger side. Johnny is older than Peter, but I don't know how old you would consider this Spider-Man. To me, be a little bit later in his career, so when scaling them at this size, you'd think maybe Peter was more of a kid, but they're supposed to be the same age. But when he's flying around, it's harder to really catch. So that was just a quick little nitpick, a gripe about the size of this figure. I think he might be a little bit too big, but not really a problem. And so the articulation on this, though, is really where it shines. First of all, I'm sure you guys have seen other real reviews, but that is an insane That's great for the Mezco. He has an amazing range of articulation from his torso. He can just crunch so much. By the way, this articulation is miles better than the one that came on the Spider-Man. So if the Spider-Man had this articulation, that'd be amazing, but it didn't. He's got butterfly joints, both, and then the head gets some really good range of movement. So, of course, the double jointed elbows. I mean, you can get him into some great poses that you just otherwise can't really get with the Marvel Legends, which is why I don't really think that not having the Flame Dawn version is very problematic, because the articulation that this guy has, it's beautiful. I mean, that looks crazy cool. And of course he lights up. I don't show that off in this video, but regardless, I mean, that's tough. And you can have him just doing a whole bunch of stuff, like that there. So he can look up a great deal. This torso joint, I mean, this body mold that they got on under this figure is super good. Like, I mean, you're looking at even rivaling with Mafex underneath here. So yeah, this figure was kind of like the surprise, I guess. It just shocked me with how fun to pose this was. So that covers it for my Human Torch analysis. We'll keep moving along. Before we get into the Mezco's displays, I really wanted to just do one Marvel Legends Fantastic Four and how I would do it if I didn't have the Mezco set. And this looks cool to me. I think that this is fine, but I definitely want more out of this. And the limitation through the accessories and the display options definitely takes this down just a little bit, even though it looks fine. I just want more, I guess. And I think that's when I'll get that more through this set. As I continue to experiment with these figures, hopefully you'll be able to make a decision yourself if going the extra mile for the Fantastic Four is really worth it. And my short answer, yes, it absolutely is. They're super cool, super fun, and is pretty much everything I wanted through a Fantastic Four box set. I think I'd still be a fan and am patiently waiting for Mafex to attempt this group, just because I like the hard plastic and for the ability to make it blend in even better with the Marvel Legends and Mafex collection I have going right now. But you can mix in the Marvel Legends with this group seamlessly. I think that it works perfectly fine. These figures don't suffer from that Mezco aesthetic where they look a little baggy. The material on these figures is a bit tight actually and smooth, and it kind of looks plasticky from afar. So that's really cool, and I'm really glad I have the ability to mix the Marvel Legends in with this group, because it just adds the amount of display options that I wouldn't have had before. Here's one of the first examples of how I used some Marvel Legend parts and mixed in with the Mezco, with the Invisible Woman head obviously, and the fully flamed Walgreens exclusive Human Torch for a fully flamed on version. Neither look like they're out of place in this display, so that's really cool to see. And here I ended up putting in the whole Marvel Legends Invisible Woman figure. If you're strategic about your selection for the Reed Richards parts and how you display it, you can actually get two Reed Richards in two different displays. So here, I'm just using the upper body and the neck for the Reed Richards in this display, and I'm hiding the fact that he doesn't have legs behind the Thing in other figures. And if we move over to my next display, you can see that you have a whole nother Mezco Reed Richards that you can use in another display. I think that's really cool, two for the price of one essentially. So this next clip is used to emphasize the point that they do look good with the rest of your collection. And so for me, when they're up on the shelf, they don't look like they're out of place. The proportions don't look like they're from a completely separate toy line, especially when you're using some Marvel Legends in the mix of the group as well. I think it looks good, and it's kind of really fun to see these figures up there with my Avengers. Now, they're not going to stay up there, of course, but I just thought it'd be interesting to see how they would look with this display. And then I did another setup of them using their powers, and again, I think that it works perfectly fine. They don't stick out like a sore thumb or anything, but let me know what you think. Do they fit in with the other figures up there? I think so, but I mean, I'd be curious to see what you guys think. So let me know in the comments below. So for the next few clips, I'm just gonna let these next displays just play out for your viewership and enjoyment. And so you feel free to skip around as you see fit. But these are just some different setups that I put together to show off the numerous display options. I do want to say this is easily hands down one of my favorite setups I did in the video. Really proud of this one. Definitely makes me think that this set was worth it, being able to do something like this. As I'm making this video, I kind of realized, man, we need a lot more Fantastic Four villains in the collection. So hopefully we get some more from the Marvel Legends. I'm probably going to pick up the Psycho Man and High Evolutionary. This was another one of my favorite displays, and 3 out of the 4 figures were Marvel Legends. So I hope that really does emphasize the fact that the Reed Richards alone is really the star of the set, and I feel like I can't even, it's overwhelming the amount of options I feel like I have with this. And plus you get a ton of great accessories for each of the other characters as well. So even if you're not using those versions of the characters, you still get a better Herbie, you still have some debris to do. So I'm really trying to use the most of what you get from the box set to really create the ultimate Fantastic Four display. And here's some more Fantastic Four villains thrown into this display. And then another really cool thing about this set is you get 4 Mezco stands, and I think they're the best 6-inch figure stands you can get on the market. Obviously, they're very strong. You can see it's holding up the Thing, which is really cool to be able to have Thing up in the air like that. Just really makes something you don't see in every display. And here's an alternate shot of that setup where I have Doom being defeated by Reed Richards. And I really think it's just dope how he's just holding the mask of Dr. Doom. And here he is, his suit malfunctioning, and Reed is standing over victorious. Alright guys, that's going to wrap this video up. I'm officially posed out with the Fantastic Four. Now if you found this video inspirational, entertaining, useful, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys want to see my content regularly, I do post on Instagram. I'll be posting about all these displays more on there. So make sure you go follow me on Well-Opened Web Snappers. Link in the bio on Instagram. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.